Hey, you! Listening to this podcast right now! Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Like movies, music, television, and more?
Oh my God.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Yes.
Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me,
Yes.
Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
The following is a Journey into Comics Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, the podcast about everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
We've come a long way from the Prime Minister's exploding cake. Or have we?
Hey everybody, welcome to Journey into Comics, episode 153, the show about everything nerd. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Brando. Joining me as always, my partner, my best friend, my co-host with the most, the JSE founder, Nate Phillips.
Welcome. How you doing, Brando?
It's going, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a lot going on in my neck of the woods. I've been really busy. I haven't been able to watch anything other than I watched a little bit of NXT last night. I had some downtime. I stayed up late just to watch the first Terminator movie because I'm just in the mood to watch Terminator flick. And, I haven't had time to do anything. I've been too busy podcasting.
Hey, that's not a bad problem to have. I think now that we have the network, I think podcasting is just like Blaine said it best. He said it's not like work because we love doing it. But in some ways, again, I think we've probably talked about this previously, like maybe 50 episodes or so ago. It is kind of like a job. Like you got to have your schedule and know when you're going to do it and know when you can sit down with your people. Obviously, our network has been expanding, so we can kind of get to a point now where podcasting is just a thing we know we have to chip away every week. There's a couple hours here where you and I are going to podcast. There's a couple hours where you and Michael podcast. There'll be a couple hours where myself with someone else will, it's not a bad thing. It's really fun too that I'm in the band because it's like I do all this really like labor intensive work to set up the drums and move equipment and everything, and then I get to come sit down and hang out with you and just fucking nerd down and, be dorky. And at least on here I can look at your PS2 and PS1 collection.
Yeah, we're using video call again because it worked so well last week, and hopefully the quality stays good. If not, we'll drop the video. We'll go right back to audio only. And even then, sometimes we have crappy quality, and then I just pretend to hear what you say. But
I think that's you've become really, really good at the wizardry of assuming what I'm talking about. I think that comes, and I think I've done the same for you because we know each other so well that when we're telling a story or we're talking about something that we're passionate about, we kind of know where we're going to go. So we can kind of guess. Like, I think Brendan was kind of going down this route, Of course, me, I'm always like, what? Because I'm deaf anyways,
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't really surprise each other too much anymore with our opinions. Every once in a while, we throw each other a curveball, but, there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of expansion going on with our network. I just recorded the first episode of Podcastrophe. It actually happened. That show is now a thing. I recorded it with our good friend Blaine, Dick, Tyner, DB, Dr. Dongo, whatever he's going by nowadays. Of course, and he wanted that, he even said, he either thanked me on Facebook or said during the show, thank you for being my training wheels on my first episode just to get a feel. And really, and I told him this afterwards, I said it was an awesome show. We went a lot deeper than what we thought we were going to go. And I actually had to hold back, Nate. I had to hold.
Really?
I did because I didn't want that show to turn into Voice of Survival with us because I know we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we talked about on that show. So it's going to be a cool little companion piece.
Cool.
When we finally get to do our episode of your new show and we dive into the band stuff and we dive into our relationship, we dive into the podcasting stuff and just the things that bind and tie us throughout our relationship. whatever, however that decides to go down when we do that show, the Voice of Survival show is going to be, on its own. But then over here, first episode of Podcastrophe is going to be, I think, a really cool companion piece for that. And I did have to hold back because I'm like, I'm mentally thinking like, all right, I'm actually talking about something I'm going to talk about later. So I'm going to just try and cut it off and not go too deep. But then do you want to, can you announce, because you're supposed to be recording this week for Voice of Survival.
Yeah, I've got 2 separate guests lined up. I'm going to kind of try to start stacking. I feel like with it being bi-weekly, the show has nothing to do with really current going-ons. Like, we might talk about something that happened near that moment of time, but I'm planning to get Tuesday. I'm recording with Benny No Good from Yavin 4 and the Involuntaries, and he's in the Enders, and he's got Benny in the No Goods. He's got a Kickstarter right now. I think they're like 75% funded for his album. He's doing all the instruments by himself. He's already sent me 2 rough cuts, and they're amazing. Like, they're in my head all the time since I heard them. And it was just like the first time I had heard his style of music with this vision that he's doing everything by himself. And then actually, in a really cool flashback piece a little bit, the first podcast Walk Among Us was ever on was the Fiendcast podcast. They're an All Misfits podcast. Mm-hmm. Roy Campos, their host, is coming on to The Voice of Survival as well. We're going to probably schedule him for Thursday. Roy's situation is going to be a little bit different because he just got transferred for 3 weeks to Guam. So, because his job, he does, I think he does construction, correct me if I'm wrong, at some point, Roy, but he had to get transferred to Guam, and they're 15 hours ahead of our time right now. So he's a time traveler. So Thursday, which will be Friday for him, I'm going to plan to have another Voice of Survival, which would probably be episode 3. But I'm certain that Benny will be episode 2.
Okay, awesome. And are these going to... Now, you said that the dude's in Guam, so obviously you're not going to be in person. But is
No.
But is Benny going to be in person too, or is that going to be also on Skype?
It'll also be Skype. With you and I, how we did last week with Todd in this format, I felt like it opened up the Voice of Survival to be able to have guests anywhere. As long as I can see your face and get a read on your body language while we're telling the story of you, it makes it super simple. If I'm just listening to you talk, no offense, I can easily zone out because what happens is I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there listening as a listener, and then I forget to react right away, and then it sounds like I'm not paying attention or something.
Same. And sometimes I actually do just zone out, like especially when I would just sit in the dark, late at night or whatever we're recording. But we really want to thank you guys, for checking us out, checking out all of our, shows over there at journeytocomics.com and on our network. It really means a lot. You guys can go head over, and throw us a $1 or $3 over there on our Patreon to get early access. I always say when and where available, up to a week. Once we have these shows in the bag, a week before their launch day, they're going to hit Patreon, and we're going to, share them out there, let people know that they're there. So if you really want to hear something, $1 a month, that is all you need to pay to get early access for that. And it would really, it's really going to help us out as far as, paying for our hosting. That's one less thing that we have to worry about, and we can just focus continually on bringing you guys some badass content. Now, I do want to make a quick announcement, and we haven't really talked about it too much here. Maybe a little bit we did on 151, maybe.
Okay.
But Journey to Wrestling is coming back, and we're going to record that later on this week because we're recording this on Sunday. This is like the last day that we could record to get this up in time. Sometimes that happens. You guys were in Milwaukee this weekend, so we didn't get the chance to link up. That is, that's why we have a fallback day, Sunday. You don't play shows on Sunday typically. So
no, I won't.
And so, push comes to shove, we can record on Sunday. And then, of course, the early access thing, as soon as we're done here, this show's getting edited and put up on Patreon. So it's not that much early, but it's still early. And if anybody wants that, by all means. But again, when and where available, these shows will go up. Dude, really cool. This past Thursday, the new Game Addicts went up. Game of the Year edition, where we talked about the Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition finally getting announced like a year and a half later. So that episode went up, and then me and Mike got together that day, and we filmed our new episode, and I put that up on Patreon. So in one day, I had 2 episodes go live.
Hell yeah.
It was really cool. Again, so I get, for that, if you guys really want that, man, head over there and help us out a little bit. Every little bit helps. And then, of course, if you guys can or don't want to, you can always just wait and get it on its launch day, like always, either on the network at journeytocomics.com or subscribe on your favorite podcast service, or over at gameaddicts.podbean.com, where you can check out the Game Addict Show. So we do have some other shows that are going to be coming out this week. Of course, today is Journey to Comics Podcastrophe is tomorrow, so please check that out. And then debuting on Wednesday.
Is it for real?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the debut of our new podcast featuring my wife, Caitlin, and Mike's wife, Joanna. Butt stuff. But
comma stuff.
Apostcomma?
I almost said apostrophe, and I was like, wait, no, it's comma. Shit, I fucked that up.
It's their first show, and I thought it went pretty good for a first show, man. They really, once they found their groove, it was there, and it really is sort of like a grab bag of just them checking out some internet memes. They talk Game of Thrones for a second. Because apparently they tried to talk Game of Thrones, but then they just ended up doing a play-by-play of the episode,
a descriptor episode.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what? Let's just talk about some stuff we liked, and then talk about some memes. But I thought it came off really, really good. They laughed, and they were themselves. Once they got comfortable, they were themselves.
When our listeners are hearing this, and I don't know if it's going to go up on Patreon before Wednesday or how that all's going to work.
Ready up? No, it's not. I sent it to you guys first, and then today it's going up on early access. So
cool. So it would have been yesterday.
Yeah. So as you're listening to this on Monday, if you guys are getting this on Monday and listening to it, Butt Stuff is up on Patreon for early access.
It was a great first episode. I was telling them I loved it. I was laughing consistently. And it was nice because while I do know Joanna and Caitlin, I have not spent an extreme amount of time hanging out with them. And to hear them podcast as first-time podcasters, to have their real personalities really come out, they were being themselves, they were being funny, they were just letting the conversation take them where they went. And they were unapologetic about it, and it was a really great first outing. I think every show we have launched since the network announcement, every show has just been a home run within the genre that they're podcasting from.
So, as we get together and we do these shows, and we're thinking of shows, and we have you have all these other shows now. Like now, we're gonna have 7 shows, and all encompassing. There's stuff like Butt Stuff that has been in the news since we launched the network. We just weren't ready to say anything about it. Well, I'm gonna dangle a carrot.
Ooh.
I'm gonna dangle a carrot because I have talked to this person. Nothing is going yet. I want to say that this is not happening yet, but I have extended the offer to have our platform host a show for this person. Whatever that show is, whatever it becomes, in the next coming months, I'm going to work with this person to get them their own podcast.
Sweet.
And Nate, you know who I'm talking about.
I do. Does it involve a door?
I can't wait to hear that story. Well, has that story been told? I think it was. Was it told on?
Yeah, I think so. At one point in one of those episodes that we're talking about. Yeah.
So a certain friend of the show, a longtime friend, he hasn't been on the show for a little bit. He's got his own life going on. He's really busy right now, but this person, and of course, if you're listening to this and you are a longtime Journey to Comics fan, well, how we're being descriptive about this
deductive reasoning.
Well, yeah, right. This he actually has a PC, Nate. He has a computer.
Oh, that's game changer.
And so I'm like, dude, I have a USB mic I'm not using
At all.
It's yours, dude. Take it. Let's make a show. Let's put some stuff out. And he goes, well, really busy right now with work. That may change in the next coming months. And he was all on board for it. So I said, all right, man, we'll just take our time and we'll figure out what kind of show you want to do. And we'll be your platform. 100%, absolutely. You have a place here. And I said, no matter what, when, or how, when the time is right, you will have a place here. And that is like there. No matter how many shows we have, there will never be too many shows to the point where this guy won't be able to have his show because he's done so much for us. He's helped us out. He's been a great friend of us for a long time. So if you haven't figured out who it is yet, then you probably never will.
I feel like it's funny though too because it's like the third guy. It's almost like NWO style. Like this dude's coming and you're expecting it, but you'll never expect it. It's weird because I actually like almost designed like a makeshift logo for his show if the show name that you want it to be stays. And then I was like, I'll wait because he might do something totally different, surprise us. I don't know. That has been something that has been like, butt stuff podcastrophe, Poor Rapport. We're all in development, coming down the pipe, and everything kind of spiraled really quickly into where we are now. But with that show, that's so in development, and I'm just like, yes, like I cannot wait for it to happen, but I'm so excited that there's going to be some anticipation. I mean, in under 2 weeks, we've launched 4 new shows. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be, before the month is out, we're going to have revitalized all of our shows.
Yeah.
September 2nd's my record date with the band. September 3rd, we're doing a Foodies episode. Poor Boy's coming down. We have some ideas and some plans. The whole format, everything is changing. We're going to get a new intro. We're doing it all different. I want to regrow this thing from the ground up and do it a little bit bigger. I think I was thinking really tiny when we first started Foodies, and now I think Veronica, myself, and Poor Boy have kind of discussed enough that we want to do something a little bit different, but still keep it loose. I think that there was too much tightness on those first few episodes of Foodies where it was like, there's all these segments we want to do and all these ideas we want to do, and we weren't letting anything breathe. While also watching a movie, which can become cumbersome because if you get sucked into the movie, it's hard to want to converse.
That's what I've said. Like I told you guys that my idea would be to like watch the movie the day before, and just have it on mute, and have it be like you can sit there and you can just do commentary on that. But that's not what this show has always been about. Let the movie drive the conversation to an extent, and let that go into different wherever you want to go. Because the movie, you guys are going to talk about food. You guys are going to talk about the movie. So then, it's very difficult to shape a format. But I do like the way that you have told me how you want that to go, and I really do. I really do think that it's going to work out well, and I can't wait to hear what that is. And then, of course. I gotta come back and we gotta finish the Batman movies.
Totally. That's a game plan. We gotta figure out what. Oh, I thought about it, and if we're gonna do the second movie, Batman Returns, we gotta have some sort of fish dish.
Because he eats the fish.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, like a really nice elevated fish dish, and then nerd out and try not to talk too much like Journey to Comics.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's always the struggle when it's me and you on a show. Because, like, JIW, I really tried to make that different, but it ends up just us talking. So that's really why I think I'm okay with that show still being called Journey Into Something. Because there's already 10 million wrestling podcasts, and all the good names are taking. So it's like, I just gave up and just called it Journey to Wrestling. But it works since that's the only other show besides this show that features you and I as, like, the main two stalwarts. And so it's Journey Into, and so then like anything else that we do. now should just be called Journey Into, like whatever that is. If we have a full podcast and we're sitting there one day and we're thinking, you know what, man?
Tacos.
I'm thinking Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
You know,
All
there
right.
are so we're Journey into Play-Doh. And then we're gonna try and put episodes out each week or every other week, talking about the minutia of Play-Doh.
Great reference there. There was something else I wanted to add about that. Oh, I wanted to tease something for foodies on here for you guys. So I don't know that we're officially going to do this, but I'm going to give you a theme that we're going for possibly for the next episode of Foodies. So what movie would you watch and think about what early fall feels like, right? And the first movie that kind of came to Veronica and I's head was, well, why don't we talk about A League of Their Own? And we can do a baseball park potluck and have nachos, and for the third episode of Foodies in a row, have hot dogs. And then have some other stuff, maybe cheeseburgers and whatnot. But I don't know that that's official, but that is something we have talked about. We've got some segments lined up, some things we want to discuss for that episode.
Have you bought Powerball tickets lately?
Today I bought one. Weird. That's super fucking random, Brando.
Okay, well, because, I have, and this is both a blessing and a curse. Like, I have really extended visions, right? As far as, like, where I want things to go, where I think they're going to go or see them going, right? And so I have realistic visions, and then, like, if I were ungodly rich visions. And if I were ungodly rich, we would have our own studio where we would do, podcasts all throughout the week. Each show would be live in the studio if you want it. And so our studio, and this is me riffing. This is literally me riffing on like a lottery dream that I had at work one day. So we would
go for it.
So we would have a studio with like this big screen behind us, where where all the podcasts would sit, and you could change the background. But on the flip side of that studio is another studio. So there's like on this room, you have like on this side, you have like the camera and all this stuff facing this way. And then basically for this other show, we would just turn it around this way. And over here is a studio kitchen where an idea of like, wow, how cool would it be if foodies were able to cook during the show?
And film during the show.
Yeah, and film. And it's almost kind of like, do you remember like Dinner in a Movie?
Yes.
Like back
oh my
in the day?
God.
Where like
what was his name?
Oh, dude, he was a comedian.
He was on Bob and Tom, right?
He did the like undignified ways to die or something like that.
Yes.
Walking through a minefield with clown shoes at night. Getting a life-size tattoo of someone my height.
I remember that. What is his name, though?
Oh, dude, I can't remember it right off the bat, but like...
Fact check. I'll do it.
But like, yeah, it was like, they would always cut into the movie with them like making some sort of dish, but like maybe you would and maybe you wouldn't be able to, concisely do that. But that would be really cool to find dishes to make and have the movie going like in the distance. So that way you would be able to see it going and you'd be able to like throw and discuss certain things of the movie. But then that video and then you guys cooking and then the interaction of that would just change the whole dynamic of what that would be. And that is a big pipe dream. That is like, if I win that $650 million, that's happening.
It's crazy today that you bring this up to me because I literally went to get gas before I drove down to V's so I could record this episode. And I get gas, and I was standing in the line to get gas, and I looked over at the Powerball number, and I was like, that doesn't say 650, does it? And I was like, what the fuck? How's it that high? Like, weren't people freaking out when it was like almost like 400 million? How did I not hear it almost hit 600 million or hit past 600 million? So I was like, fuck it, I got $2 here. I'll just buy one ticket. I don't give a shit. I've won a couple Powerballs before, low numbers, getting 2 or 3 numbers right or whatever, getting the Powerball or whatever. I too have that pipe dream of like what would happen if we had this crazy like Powerball win and had some big payoff. And I can tell you right off the bat, the first thing that would happen, it would most likely mean like the unintended death of our Patreon, because we would just be like, why do we need this? We can just have all of this content we wanted to give you anyways. I think that's one thing, just to kind of circle back to the Patreon, not to drive that thing home, but like, we really genuinely love doing this, Brando, and I could give a shit less if people want to give me money. It would be a great help to us, like, for real. It really would. But at the end of the day, talking to my best dude right here and chatting about the shit we chat about, or talking with Veronica and Poor Boy about food, or talking to some random guest about their life, anything that I'm a part of as far as podcasting, I put my heart into, because it's easy and fun. You know, this is not a thing that you have to, like, struggle to be yourself on, you know?
Well, it is a passion for me. This is something, and I talk about it on the Podcastrophe episode, just to let you guys go listen to that and get deeper into this conversation. But it's something that you harken back to like 11 years ago, of an idea of what I kind of wanted to do with a career. And okay, this is not a career, and I never envisioned it as such, is really like when we started doing it. And I would like for it to be that, but if it never happens, that is awesome, because I still get to do it. You know, I still get to come together with you, with Mike, with whoever, and sit down and get my thoughts, get my opinions, get my outlet out there, whether it be just my opinion on something nerdy or wrestling or a movie or a game, whatever, or maybe even like we did on Podcastrophe, like really dive into some feelings, which that was the first time I've ever really done that far. And I wasn't intending for it to do, but I think it really made for some great conversation, and I actually think it was a little cathartic.
Well, that's good. I mean, as I told you, I'm still I'm like right in the first like 40 minutes of Podcastrophe, which was most of what I got to watch before I went to Milwaukee, which I wanted to talk about that real quick. You guys live streamed Podcastrophe, and as the co-executive VP of the network, it really like warmed my heart to watch you and Blaine, who I've done many podcasts with. We've had many conversations with Blaine, and for that to just expand how it did and to be what it was, and to see you guys live streaming it, it was just like the vision that I had when you and I were first talking about this network. That's what I always wanted. Mm-hmm. Was like the people we love and care about to also take this idea of podcasting and express themselves. It's a great way to do it, you know?
Well, and that's just something that, you know, you take these guys and you take these people and they like, oh yeah, I know, I could never do that. And it's like, no, anybody can. If you have a cell phone, you know, you can do it. You just sit it down, sit that like in between you and your friend, and you can talk and you can put it out there. We live in an age where there is no excuse other than yourself for not putting yourself out there. And for some people, I get it, you know, and we even talked about like, you know, anxiety and depression and things that make people more introverted. And then, you know, when you listen to Butt Stuff, those two are very introverted. They're very like, it's their first, they're doing this, and then you can kind of tell they're a little bit like nervous, walking on eggshells at first, but then when it just flows in, and then they almost forget. And that's when it's awesome, because you get to, you feel like you kind of get to know, you know, these people. And when, like Blaine said it on that podcast, you know, sometimes, yes, sure, you want to watch for the content, but you also want to watch or listen for the personality.
I think that's that angle is where the Voice of Survival podcast really spawned from, mm-hmm. because one thing I love about Joe Rogan, I think I've probably said this like 50 times, guys, I'm so sorry, sometimes I repeat myself, but like with Joe Rogan's show, he can take any motherfucker, doesn't matter who you are, and make you interesting, because all he's doing is letting people open themselves up to him. And he's a kind, gentle enough dude that he can bring the best out in people in interviews, honestly. I mean, some of the best podcasts I've listened to are Joe Rogan and one person, and they're talking about science and life and fucking robots and aliens and all this crazy shit, and it's just like real. And that realness is what inspired me to create the Voice of Survival, and then that inspiration pushes us to where we are now, you know? I love the story on Podcastrophe, not to spoil tomorrow a little bit.
We need to stop talking about it at this point.
Well, this is the only thing I want to say. This is the only thing I want to say, though, is that, you know, you had brought up that, oh, fuck. I had a point here. See, it happened. My brain stopped working. We were talking about how, like, you pretty much ignored the Voice of Survival logo in favor of the JIC Network logo, you know? And man, it was really weird because to me making that logo was just like, I just wanted to see it. That was my only purpose. Like, I really wasn't, like, genuinely trying to force your hand. It was just like, this could be really cool. I really hope it's cool, you know? And I was so nervous because I thought, I've got to drop this podcast. I got to get all the ducks in a row. I want to announce that it's actually going to happen because I want to force myself to start it. The longer I wait to announce it on social media, the longer I'm going to wait to actually do anything about it. So, all I did was like, I'm going to just put it up. But I thought to myself, I didn't talk to Brandon about this. I hope he's not going to get, like, mad or anything. And I know you're not going to get mad, but because we had discussed it that I wanted to do a new show, but, like, I totally just in one day was like, got to get the logo, got to get all the social media accounts locked down, got to get it up on Facebook and let everybody know what's happening. Going to probably announce my first guest. And then it spawned all this stuff. But that's really all I want to say about Podcastrophe. Again, I'm excited that Butt Stuff and Voice Survival and Poor Report are all going to be making their debut within like under 2 weeks of each other. So we've actually got a pretty solid schedule started here for the network.
Yeah, and Journey to Wrestling will return to the air on August 30th. So we are going to record that on the 25th. We're going to do Journey to Comics, which releases on Monday. And right after Journey to Comics, we're going to go dive into everything SummerSlam, which actually happens today as we record this. But we're going to go into everything. We're going to go into, we're going to look at some NXT stuff. We're going to look at SummerSlam. We're going to look at the stuff that we've missed for our time off. And I think now's a good enough time as any to just announce that JIW from now on is going to be a seasonal thing. And what I mean by that is that some podcasts are now doing this thing, or like even some video series on YouTube, they're going in seasons, just like a TV show or something like that. So what we're going to do is that from SummerSlam until Mania is going to be one season. Just like you would almost expect an actual series to run from, like, you got your start in September, October, run until the spring. And we're going to try and hit that every single bi-weekly. We have a little schedule made up where we're going to hit, once we get in a groove, we're hopefully going to be able to hit, like, every pay-per-view along the way as far as a review and preview as we go along and help us stay caught up with the current product that they're putting out. Some of the crazy stuff that's happening over in GFW. It's not TNA anymore. A lot of crazy things happening in the world of professional wrestling, and we can't wait to get back into that. But I really feel like a seasonal format will help keep that show fresh, because then we could take a break from it, step away. There's a lot of times in wrestling where there's just not a lot going on, and it's like, why are we like? Well, we got to try and make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Great Brock Lesnar. That's a great Brock Lesnar quote. He when he was the coach on one of the seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, that was his big thing. I'll turn that chicken shit into chicken salad if I have to, like talking about his fighters.
I actually heard that from, I think Austin says that a lot on his podcast, talking about matches or his own show.
Shit, Lesnar probably got it from Austin.
Okay, could be. But it'll also allow some room to breathe, because then, once we have these shows that are, that have debuted or are debuting, once they settle into a format of when and how they're going to release, letting JIW step away for a little bit will, like, help free up some schedule time for some other shows if they want to come in, or however they want to do it, because we are so laid back. I don't want to hold the reins on anybody, and I just want to be able to let everybody find their own comfortable release thing. And so, like, even today I was on our chat to say, hey, you know what? I made up that little schedule, and 2 of the shows that are going to be debuting didn't really hit that, and that was just due to life, scheduling, everything. And since it was their first ones, like, we also wanted to kind of review it and and just kind of see what we had our hands with, and maybe get some feedback, and that's not to say that if we review it, that's not ever going to make air. We just wanted to, this is their first one, so let's get some honest feedback for these guys, and then and if they're uncomfortable with it from that point, that's the only reason why I wouldn't post it. If they said, all right, you guys said that, I'm now really hesitant to put this up, that's the only reason why I would ever do that. But I said, hey, I'm gonna adjust the schedule a little bit because we have the ability to do that. We are our own boss. Nothing is set in stone. It's not set in slate. So this week we're gonna have a show every single day of the week, and whether or not that continues the week after that, I do believe that our poor boy said that the Poor Report will be airing the week after that on Tuesday, so that'll be just like it. We're just gonna, whoever's ready, whoever's got episodes, we're gonna try and figure them in, and hopefully we can keep them on their sort of, I guess, designated day. They're not even locked. Like there's only 2 shows locked in on any given day.
Monday and Thursday, bro.
And that's JIC and Game Addicts, and I guess JIW, because you and me are sort of like, we got to do that show anyway. So, like,
might as well just fucking do it.
I mean, at that point, it's like we know when that show's getting done. We know when it's going to go up. So, like, for that case, like, the only reason why I set that on Wednesday is because it gives us a day in between Monday. So it's like, well, I just heard these guys talk like yesterday. I don't want to hear them again. And
give them ear fatigue. You know what's also today, Brando? It is Sunday.
Thrones, King Chair.
Dude. Game of King Chairs. Maybe we should make that the segment, Just every time we're doing Game of Thrones, we're just going to do the Game of King Chair segment. I guess we've only got like
we got this week and next week.
9 of them left to go all time, but that's so sad.
It all depends on like the spin-offs, because they've got like a couple different spin-offs in development. And,
really?
Yeah.
I actually don't know anything about this. You should enlighten me.
HBO has 4 spin-offs in development for Game of Thrones. And they're all different whatevers. I'm going to wager and say one of them is Robert's Rebellion. Has to be.
That'd be a cool backstory. That'd be cool to see.
Because it's like, if you dive into like what's going on with the story, you eventually throughout the series, you know it. You figure it out. It gets told to you. But when you first start it, they're just saying stuff. And you don't know, like, okay, what does that mean? And then they start painting a better picture for you as the seasons go on. And then if you're like me and go, well, I want to know more, then I go on like online and I start reading the whole synopsis, and I start reading characters, and I start reading biographies, and I go on and I start reading family trees, and all of a sudden the plot starts coming like unraveling for me at that point. I'm like, oh. And then sort of it's happening the way that I thought it's happening, sort of. But so today is like Game of Thrones Day, and we have 2 more for this season. The one that airs tonight. So unfortunately, the big episode, the penultimate episode that airs tonight, we're not going to get to talk to until Friday, which then that's going to go up on Friday night. So if you're like, what do you got to say about that, guys? You can go early access. But if you want to just wait till Monday, you can do that too.
By then, the season will be over.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So, dude, last week, a week ago from today, was Eastwatch, is the episode we're talking about. That was episode 5 from this season. And, again, I just can't say it enough. They are not sparing any time in this season. Every moment is pressing ever forward, never stopping.
They've learned to fast travel.
Yes, they finally got all their access points on the map.
They're not over encumbered.
Yeah.
And that's funny you mentioned that too, because somebody traveled. Oh, it was Tyrion. He was in Dragonstone, and the next thing we know, he was in King's Landing, like ultra fast.
Well, on the map, that's actually not that far away from each other.
Oh, I don't know the map very well, to be honest.
Look up the map, and King's Landing is you'll see this opening on the continent, and it's like way in there, like a bay, and then just outside of that, there's an island. Say that I'm using my hands here. This is terrible, but say this is a little inward. You go in there. Oh, King's Landing's right here. The island will be like right here. So
okay.
You almost have to sail past it to get into where King's Landing is. So that's why they took a rowboat, is because they can get there, relatively, quickly, within probably just a couple hours or so. Which then makes sense why Gendry ended up there. And
that was fucking awesome.
Oh man, you knew you were hoping it was coming. So they get into King's Landing, and Tyrion's there to do his business, and he's like, what are you going? He's like, Sir Davos is with him. He goes, I got my business elsewhere down in Flea Bottom. I think it's where it's called. And he's back there making armor and weapons again, back to work, hiding right under the king's or the queen's nose, because we were just rewatching the series, me and Kate. We just passed the point where they killed all the Baratheon bastards. And
that's season 4?
No, that is beginning of season 2.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Yep. Man, it's weird. Gendry's been in hiding for such a long time. For anybody who's been watching Game of Thrones since the beginning in 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, who only started the season or the series, was that last year before season 6 started? Everything is so crunched in as when you binge watch a series. It is, there's a character and he's gone, and if you're watching from the start of the season, it's been several years since we've really gotten anything from Gendry, but it was really cool to see him just be utter badass with no remorse.
Yeah, dude. It was pretty neat because he's Davos even makes a joke about oh, figured you'd still be rowing, because that's the last thing you see is him rowing, and people are all the online jokes are like, he's just out there rowing in the ocean somewhere, but then he gets him, and then he's all like, hey, I'm here to get you. I'm here to, we got a safe place for you. If if you want it, he goes, I'll give you some time to get your things together. He goes, I'm ready. He just picks up his stuff. No, I've been ready for 4 seasons, dude. Let's go. And he picks up a hammer, and that was so awesome because that was Robert's weapon, was a hammer. That's what a hammer is, what he used to kill Rhaegar Targaryen with. Robert was only ever defeated in battle once, and that was by old man Tarly. I don't remember his first name, but Sam's dad, who got murdered in this episode as well. He got sentenced to death by Daenerys, and she burned them alive. Not much differently than the Mad King burned the Starks alive. So there was some concern with Tyrion and Varys, Lord Varys, about that, about her becoming her dad. But then, okay, so Gendry's coming with Sir Davos. We're going to go over and we're going to look at Tyrion. Tyrion has a meeting with his brother, set up by Bronn. Hilarious, because he takes him down there with a sparring sword, so he really can't do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah.
And Jaime's not really that great of a swordsman right now with his left hand. He could probably still give Tyrion a thrashing.
Yeah.
He obviously wasn't too thrilled to see Tyrion. But considering he is the only out of the two between Cersei and and Jaime, he would be the one who would listen to him. Cersei she didn't want anything to do with him. And he does listen to him, and I think it's that compassion he has for him. He's still pissed off that he killed their dad, but I also kind of think he understands in a way that Tyrion did it to defend himself for any future, problems. it doesn't mean that maybe Jaime's okay with it. Maybe he just understands it. But that's when Tyrion's like, hey, we have a proposition for peace for now. We got a problem. We got a big problem.
Wait, the what did I call this? The climate change argument of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's very real, but there are people who are just like, no, it's not. It's not fucking real. I haven't seen it, so it's not real. That's not real. And then there's other people who are like, no, we've seen the evidence. It's so real. Help us. Like, it's gonna be bad. But
I saw a
Cersei,
glacier fall and land in the ocean and splash everywhere. Blocks of ice are going to melt in the ocean because it's too hot. I'm just telling you, King's Landing is going to drown. Flea Bottom is going to be no more. Dragonstone will only be a dragon stump.
Oh, but Cersei is not happy that Jaime had this meeting.
No. She wants Tyrion's head.
But there's some really interesting shit that comes from this, because she calls out Jaime like, oh yeah, go hang out with our son's murderer, you fucking asshole. And Jaime's like, well, actually Tyrion didn't do it. It was Lady Olenna, and my bad, I'm just telling you this now because, you know, like, I just have to, you know.
And that's the folly of us having voice chat or video chat. Is
Yeah.
You just see my facial expression.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't make that face, but I can.
No, he didn't.
But again, another reason why I should never be a director of anything, because if somebody did that, I'd be like, "That's perfect," because that's gonna make me laugh.
But I want to say something from this, because also with Cersei in this episode, we learn about a very interesting thing that I have a theory on. I want to spin into that while we're talking about the episode. Cersei reveals she's pregnant.
Well, we did see in a previous episode where they boned the Lannister twins, and she answered the door. And he's just like, hey, wait, but what if they catch me? She goes, I don't give a shit. I'm the fucking queen.
What are they going to do?
Yeah, what are they going to do? And he's just like, and then she answers the door, and that handmaiden's like, oh.
Let me run away now.
And then Cersei's like, by the way, I'm going to need some new sheets.
Yeah. Oh. How fucked would your job be if your job was to change the bedding for two twins that fuck each other? Like, that's a pitiful life, right? I mean,
now with her being possibly pregnant, you know, Jaime's like, well, who will you say is the father? And she goes, you.
Yeah. Like,
and he's just like, but people aren't going to like that. And she goes, fuck the people, essentially.
Yeah.
And then she did she bring up the Targaryens here again?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I mean, I think, well, they did talk about the Targaryens as far as the possible alliance and the White Walkers and all that stuff. That was discussed. But I want to mention that Cersei revealing she's pregnant revealed to me the ultimate fate of this show, and what I'm about to tell you might not actually happen. I don't know. I'm not a fucking future teller. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you look at all the pieces on the board, and you think about how everything is played out, I want to paint a little picture for you folks. If you're Game of Thrones fans, Game of Thrones addicts, game addicts, if you will. Not the same,
you're
obviously.
a king chair addict.
King chair addicts, yes. But Cersei's prophecy says that her 3 children will die, and that she will be murdered by her brother, essentially. That's like shorthand. But that creates an interesting problem, because her 3 children have already been murdered. She's not going to have the 4th. Her death by her brother, well, how could you, what would you, Jaime kills her when she's pregnant? There's no way at this point Jaime would do that. I think that's a mind fuck, unless he starts to feel trapped and like embarrassed now that that's their relationship. But I think there's a more interesting twist to do, and wouldn't it be something if Arya, as Jaime, kills Cersei, how Rob's wife was killed during the Red Wedding, death to the baby and all, in a full circle fucking. You know, Brandon, your face is good.
Oh, dude. I mean, I like it because part of me was like, oh, dude, she's not even pregnant. She's using this as a means to keep Jaime around because Jaime, when he first starts the show, he's such a villain. He is so detestable. It's like you just can't stand him. He's so smug. He's above everybody, but he's not without compassion. It's in there. The problem is that he has been raised to be better than everybody else, and so he's lived his life that way, and he's been screwing his sister. I'm not saying maybe I am. I don't know. I don't know where to segue from that, but like. Because I don't want to offend anybody that is doing that, but that's a mindset that I can't wrap myself around. So like as the show goes on, you see him develop bonds with other people. You see how he is with his brother Tyrion. He cares for Tyrion. You see his bond with Brienne. You know, and he becomes a likable character. Which is hilarious because the guy at the beginning of the show, he's just like, man, I hate that guy. But then you get to season 5 or 6, you're like, wow, Jaime's badass. He is not as bad as he is, and his folly is that he loves his sister. That is his downfall, and it is a flaw in his character. But now you're looking at this as like, what? He would be the one who would be swayed. Especially after seeing the dragon. He got back from that dragon. He's like, we just got our asses fucked. She's got 3 more of them. Your little bow and arrow didn't do shit.
Didn't even phase him, really.
Dude,
it pissed him off.
Went down. It did. And it just, like, I almost died. We lost 1,000 carriages. So many men. And then the Dothraki, they weren't fighting a war. They were killing us for sport.
It was fun.
It was fun for them. It's like, we are outmatched. And if she decides to use those other dragons, like this was just
no chance.
You know, he's trying to say this was just her flexing a little bit. She's been holding back. While we've been sitting here thinking, we've got this. This is no big deal. This ain't nothing. Shit. You know, I think Jaime realized, like, she did not want to use the dragons. She did not want to have a massacre. She doesn't want to kill innocent people. I think he's now seeing that Daenerys doesn't want to be like his sister, but he still defends his sister. You know, just like he did with Lady Olenna. You know, she's like, "What kind of a world would it be?" And he goes, "Who's going to complain when it is that way?" You know, when once there's peace, who's going to complain how it got there? But flash forward, he's like, "We got to do something. We got to figure this out because we gonna be dead." And then at the time, Cersei's like, "Then we'll die." And he's like, "I don't want that."
Not death by dragon. That's fucking brutal.
And so, I kind of feel like this pregnancy may be just a false pregnancy and put on for Jaime to keep him there. Because if he'll listen to Tyrion, because she knew he was meeting with Tyrion, that she kind of revealed that too. She let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a test to see if he would even go do it, and he kind of failed it because then at the end she's like, betray me again. See what happens. You know, I'll kill your ass. But I kind of feel like that them having another chance to have a kid after all their kids are now dead. Might be something that she's like, you're going to stay here. Don't listen to my brother. Don't listen to our brother. Don't listen to the Dragon Queen. Don't listen to anybody else. You're with me, remember? Remember? He's going to be like, yeah, yes I am. And it's going to be a struggle because then what is he going to do when he finds out that she's not pregnant and that she was just playing him?
then maybe the prophecy does come true the other way.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I liked yours too, where Arya kills her, but then you have to think about, like, there's a whole other storyline going on up there where Littlefinger's trying to put a wedge in between Arya and Sansa to have it where Sansa doesn't have any family left with her, to where then she's going to turn to Littlefinger, and then he's going to have her back. And,
I hope not. I don't like Littlefinger.
well, nobody does. I mean, but he's the master player. You know, he ultimately wants the Iron Throne, and I've actually heard people say that they think Sansa's going to end up on the Iron Throne.
I don't know how. I mean, I guess there could be multiple theories. I feel like there's not a lot of episodes left to tell that kind of a story where Sansa would leave the North now that she just got her hands on it, and there's a lot. I mean, there'd be a lot of stuff at play that would have to happen.
There's going to be something, because this whole power, everything's going to turn on its head, and everyone's like, well, once we find out this will be amazing. Nothing is ever that simple in this show.
Nope.
And I want to talk about Gilly and Sam down there at the Citadel. And Gilly is just reading books from the Grand Maester from King's Landing, that, like, the High Sept. I think that's what it was. It wasn't the Grand Maester, it was the High Sept.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, he kept records for everything. He's like, got so many steps in the Citadel. And then she goes, what's an annulment? And he goes, it's when a guy banishes away his lawful wife so he can marry another, typically. He goes, well, there was an annulment for some Rhaegar, and then a secret wedding in Dorne, and that's when Sam snaps. He's like, I don't care. When we're not White Walkers, we're all going to die. And we're all like, but you should. Don't
Listen to what was just said.
You know, it's like, bitch can't understand. She can't read his name. It's Rhaegar. That is exactly what I said. He didn't abduct Lyanna. They were in love, and he was already married. He had 2 kids with Oberyn's sister, and then ran off, got married to Lyanna, had a kid. Rhaegar went off and died. Robert killed him. She loved Rhaegar, not Robert, which is a tragedy, because that started the whole thing that led everything going here, was that one love affair. And that son is, of course, Jon. And if he's a lawfully, he's not a bastard. He's not a bastard of anybody. He's a lawful Targaryen. Which, when Tywin Lannister betrayed the Mad King, Tywin was the hand of the king, and sacked King's Landing from within, the Mad King ordered Jaime to burn the city down and kill his own father. Jaime killed the Mad King. When Ned comes in, finds Jaime on the throne, tells him to step down. They have taken King's Landing. Well, then Ned continues to travel south once he finds out where Lyanna's being held at the Tower of Joy. Tywin Lannister, now King Regent, would probably be the role, probably the person who has, like, the stroke in King's Landing until there can be a peaceful transition of power. Orders the death of all Targaryens in the city. That includes the 2 Rhaegar kids and his now ex-wife, which that's what pissed off Oberyn off. The guy that Tywin orders to do that is Sir Gregor the Mountain. So when Oberyn's fighting a mountain, he's trying to avenge his sister and his niece and nephew. This whole thing, it's awesome how, like, there's this big full circle with a lot of these stories, and how it comes in and, like, just weaves itself around. But if Rhaegar's 2 other kids are dead, the Mad King's wife and son retreated to Dragonstone, where she died in childbirth with Daenerys. So then you had Viserys and Daenerys as the last 2 living children of the Mad King. So with Rhaegar dead, that would make Viserys the rightful heir.
He got that molten golden crown, though.
He got his crown. Now with him gone, Daenerys is like, mine. I take it. But by law, it would go to the next male, not the next female. Which the next rightful heir to the throne would be the the last surviving son of Rhaegar Targaryen.
John Targaryen.
Or Jon Snow, or the name that I heard rumored before the show even came back on was Jaehaerys Targaryen.
Cool, I like that.
And that Ned named him John and accepted the shame from his wife just to keep this a secret from Robert because he loved his sister that much, and she made him promise, swear to me you'll keep him safe, because what is Robert going to do when he finds out that there is a Targaryen son? He's going to kill him.
Yeah, he wouldn't have stopped until he killed him.
And if it was Lyanna's, that would have tore Robert up. Because so not only did Ned keep Jon safe from Robert's wrath, he kept the image of Lyanna being betrothed to Robert. Oh, dude.
I didn't ask for this. This is the best day ever. On air, I just got brought fucking Dairy Queen ice cream. This is... I'll try not to eat that on air because I'll be loud and obnoxious. But whoa!
But okay,
continue on. Sorry.
So Jon didn't want to be Lord Commander. He was made Lord Commander. He didn't want to be King of the North.
He was made King of the North.
They named him King of the North. Now
does that mean he's not? Huh? I was just going to say, does that mean now he's not going to want the Iron Throne?
Well, he never wants it. He's like. And I think that's one of his redeeming, like, really good qualities about him, because like he always does what he has to do because it needs to be done, not necessarily because that's what he wants to do. And I think that's what Daenerys, she really sees that in him, because you can tell there's something growing in between them. And even though she's technically his aunt,
she's really, really impressed with his ability to just, like, do what has to be done without any concerns. Like, he just, at the end of the episode, as we're getting to here, he literally is just like, I don't give a fuck what I am. I don't care if you're thinking you're going to hold me. There's this shit I have to go take care of, and I got to go do it. And it might cost me my life, but maybe not. And that's another thing to get, like, deep into, is the idea that the Lord of Light saved Jon Snow. Does that make him immortal now because he's already died once? Can he die again?
Well, the one dude's been brought back multiple times.
Which dude?
The dude in the Brotherhood with he's with him now. He's the dude with he's like
the eye patch.
Yeah, the eye patch dude.
Yeah.
He said earlier on the show that he's died several times, and when he comes back, all he has left is like the scar to remember, to remind him of that death. But if Jon is a legal Targaryen, and the lords in the North are already getting frustrated with him not being there, and Littlefinger, which I don't know if he knows exactly, but if he finds out, and Sansa finds out,
uh-oh.
That's why I said finding out this truth has been something that we've wanted for seasons.
But it's going to open up so many more questions.
It's going to open up a wormhole, because then it never has the happy ending that you really want. Because then once you think, oh, everyone's going to rally behind him, they're showing the seeds of dissent for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And here he is, out doing stuff for everybody, getting the dragon glass, finding Gendry, who is a craftsman, can craft dragon glass weapons. Hence why I don't think he's dying tonight. Maybe I'm wrong.
Call.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like, that makes sense. Oh, dude can make armor and weapons. Guess what? We have that needs to be made. And also, it's said even in season 1 that he's pretty damn freaking good. So now you have a guy that can do it. But then Jon's like, let's go fight. But everybody doesn't know that he's out there doing that for them. So then they're going to be rising up with their pitchforks going, where's our king? He doesn't care about us. And it doesn't take much to turn people against somebody, even a guy like Jon. I mean, just look at what happened at the Watch, where it just took a handful of people to take things into their own hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we ended the episode with, Jon, Sir Davos. Oh, we forgot. Jorah came back and had a nice reunion with Daenerys. And, she was almost in tears to see him again. She probably thought she wouldn't see him again. which makes
and then is maybe not going to see him again.
that's what makes me think it, because I've got something to tell you. All right, I got my own theory to tell you about tonight.
Sure.
But so you had John, you had Sir Jorah, you had Sir Davos, you had Gendry. These guys took off, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to Eastwatch, where we already had
Tormund and group.
Yeah, Tormund and some of the wildlings, and then held in the cells were the Brotherhood, who just they saw the vision, so they headed there, and then with the Brotherhood, of course, is the Hound, Sir Sel, I can't remember his name, his first name. Obviously, he's the Mountain's brother, so he's from House Clegane. The Hound has become I love how this show does like character redemption. Because you think you hate somebody so much, and then you just see how certain things throughout the show change them. And I think the Hound, I love his little side story about how like he just went to go farm, and then he's back in this now, and then he ended up at that cabin where he robbed that father and his daughter, and now he sees them dead, and he blames himself, and then so he gives them a proper burial, and then he's trying to make good now in the life and in this world the best he can, because he knows he's a flawed son of a bitch, and he knows he's never going to be a great guy, but I'm really hoping to see more of that. So then you have those guys. You have all these guys.
Yeah. Sandor Clegane.
Sandor. There you go. So for some reason, I was going to say Slender.
Slender.
Slender Clegane. But so now the Westeros Avengers have pretty much united, and they went marching past each watch over the gate to go meet the army of the dead, to go get a white, because the whole plan here is to stop the war. Now, this is Daenerys' plan, or I guess you could say it was a mixture of Daenerys, Jon, Tyrion, everybody in the room at the time. They were like trying to figure out what we need to do. And Jon is like, we need take out the army in the north. And she's like, she goes, what if I can't help you? He goes, then I'm leaving, and I'm going to go do what I can, and I'm going to lose, and then they're going to kill you.
Yep.
He goes, if you're not going to help me, why am I here? And then, of course, that great scene of, I don't need your permission to leave. I'm a king.
King of the North. Yeah.
And he's like, you had every opportunity to kill me, and you haven't. He goes, so I'm just going to leave. And I'm gone. And then Jorah's like, I'll go with them, So the episode ended with the group marching, because then, like, the Brotherhood joined in, even though there was some argument, but Jon's like, we're all on the same side. We're all breathing. I love that. I love that line. And then, so now that brings us to what's going to happen. They're obviously going to fight the army of the dead. A flashback to the episode in season 5, the awesome episode where Jon went toe to toe with some of these White Walkers. It's because they have to get a white, which I didn't explain that. They want to take a white and take it to King's Landing, present him to Cersei, and go, we got to stop fighting each other for now, because this is coming, and it's going to kill us all. Here's your freaking proof. I don't think they're going to get one.
No?
I think everything is going to go to shit. I don't think it's going to go the way that they want. And I think one of them is going to get injured or die, and that one's going to turn, and that's going to be their white. Now, do you want to know who I think it is? Who dies? And is that white?
Is it the same person that we were just talking about not seeing Daenerys because he just saw her, and that's just too bittersweet of a Game of Thrones move to do?
She's going to have to see him as a white.
Oh, that's going to be heartbreaking.
Now, there's something else. We had another meeting of characters for the first time in this episode. And that was Jon and Drogon.
Mm-hmm.
Jon reached out and touched him. And they were like face to snout, eye to eye. They locked eyes. And then Drogon like kind of pushed his head into him. And Daenerys even kind of acted like, really? Wow, maybe there's something to this guy that I've been ignoring. If my own dragon is like, this guy's good. This guy's a Targaryen.
Mm-hmm. He can sense it.
This guy's a dragon. What did Drogon do when Daenerys almost died at the Sons of the Harpy?
Actually, don't recall.
They were in that arena, and there was an assassination attempt on Daenerys.
Oh, he flew off.
He came in and got her and saved her.
That's right.
He sensed that she was in danger. John's going to be in danger in this episode.
Oh, that would be sick. Drogon swoops in and takes on a chunk of them.
There to save John right when you think John's going to bite it.
Again,
yeah. But and then he's there, and it's like, what happens? Does he ride out on him? Because how cool would it be for then Drogon to be all like, "Hey man, gotcha. We need to go." And he's like, "But what about the others?" And Drogon's like, "Bitch, I'm flying." And then
there's only room for one.
Yeah, and so then you have the others who have to deal with getting the white back. So then you would have the person in command of that group would be Sir Davos, still trying to complete this mission. If that is in fact Ser Jorah. I do think there's going to be some multiple deaths. I think pretty much everyone in the Brotherhood but the Hound are going to die. So then we're going to be left, and maybe even Tormund. I can see Tormund dying here too as a shock. It's going to suck, but I can see the Hound and then Sir Davos surviving and then having to drag a hooded dead Ser Jorah along with them back to Dragonstone.
How would they keep a white subdued, though?
I guess I would just keep them hooded, just like you would like a regular zombie. I don't know, but I just imagine the scene now. Drogon's flying, and Jon's like, "We got to go back." No, where are you going? And then he ends up flying him back to Dragonstone to Daenerys sees Jon on Drogon. Yeah.
That would be nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Dude, again, I've thought about so much of this stuff because it's, again, and you know what? None of that may happen.
At all.
No, it could go entirely differently. We could have so many different people die. I mean, literally, this show is crazy at times. Like, as soon as you think you get this show, it's like, Jon's dead. You're like, that can't be. And then it's going to be like, yeah, he was a Targaryen, but he just died. And now he's a White Walker. Or a White. And you're like, why? And it's like, then the show's like, because we're Game of Thrones. Because, I mean, they killed Ned in that first season. You're like, what?
I denounced the whole series because of it.
I know. And I'm like, dude, you got to get past that because that is like what then creates the rest of the show. It like, there's a slow build and then that, and then like the show becomes something else, and then a Red Wedding, and then the show becomes something else, and then it builds on that, and it just, the show at times, you know, I often say that The Walking Dead is not as unpredictable with its deaths anymore. And even to an extent, Game of Thrones really hasn't been that way here lately, right? I guess the last unpredictable death would have been Jon. And people flip their shit over that.
Yeah.
You know, because
as a season finale.
Yeah, and he's laying there like, yeah. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to tonight. You know, we have SummerSlam tonight. I showed this meme to Caitlin, where it's this it's that dude who's like wiping the sweat off his brow and he can't decide what button to push.
Mm-hmm.
And one is SummerSlam, one's Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. I'll read about SummerSlam tomorrow. I'll watch it tomorrow. I don't care. You know what? As much as I would love to see, you know, somebody win something tonight in SummerSlam, as soon as 9 o'clock hits, Game of Thrones is on. Because I am so devoted to this show. I started in 2014. Like, it was in between.
So around season 3 or 4?
It was right after 4. It was in October. I remember that distinctly for some reason. I remember eating Halloween candy, and then we were.
Dude, you were on JIC when this happened.
Yeah.
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 I remember when you got into Thrones. God, that's been 3 years ago. Shit.
And then the next year, I think, is when you around somewhere. It was Winterfall. It was exactly a year later because it was Winterfall TV because you had a. Because you're like, dude, I got into it. It's awesome. I can't believe I didn't listen to you before.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, the show is. it's almost unparalleled with the kind of storytelling it has. It really is. Like in my opinion, there's only like one other show from beginning to end that has the kind of storytelling that matches it, and it's Breaking Bad, and it's something entirely different.
Totally.
This show does so much foreshadowing. There's so much lore. There's so much background that you get yourself lost into it. This show is so rewatchable. So rewatchable. You watch season 1 again after learning something else entirely, and you see it in an entirely different light. You start hearing things. You start seeing things. You go, dude, he said this. And you go, I didn't see that the first, the third, fourth time that I watched this. Because that's how many times we watched season 1. We tried to rewatch the series a couple times, and we get to like the end of season 1 and stop, or beginning of. We're now in like episode 2 or 3 of season 2, but I want to like keep rolling because there's like episodes that I definitely want to see. I want to see the battle at the wall, season 4. I want to see the battle beyond the wall with the Whites and White Walkers in season 5.
Battle of the Bastards in 6.
And I just rewatched that right before the new episode aired, season 7 this year, because they re-aired the last 2 episodes of season 6. And so I just turned it on and I watched that episode. It was amazing. Also, something to note: we now know when they're starting filming for the next season.
We do.
Yep. The guy that plays Jamie said it. I don't know if he was supposed to say it.
Oh, really?
Well, he said they're going to go back to work in October,
which is just regular schedule.
Well, and not really. He said because normally they would film from April to July, and then for this season, they started in August, so that way they could get more of the winter stuff in the areas where they were going to be at. And so now they're starting in October, and this past year, even though it was 7 episodes for this season, for season 7, it still took the exact same amount of production time as they would for 10 episodes.
Wow.
That little battle scene with the dragon and the Dothraki, they took 30 days to film that.
Whoa.
And that's how long they took to film the Battle of the Bastards. They took 30 days to film that, which is why it comes out so good and why both of those came out so good. I mean, it's a testament to how much love and attention they put to this. Like, we need to get this. And so they put their time and money and all their energy into that, and it shows. But if their turnaround time for the season is 6 months, as far as like filming it, and then it's like post. So next season is 6 episodes. So that's a month per episode, roughly. And then you got post, which leads us into a possible fall 2018 launch. Or if HBO decides to hold it off till spring 2019. I hope they don't do that, because I think launching it in the fall going into winter would be great, especially for the time and where they're at in the show. But
well, shit, man. I love that. I don't think that it would be good for them. I want to say that before I talk about the thing I love about this show. But I don't think it would be smart for them to hold off. Like, you've got fans who are ravenous, who want this series, who want to know more about what's going on. I thought next season was 7 episodes, but I guess my math is a little bit off because there were only 13 left, so 6 next season. But that means they're taking 30 days an episode. So does that mean we have 6 episodes of nothing but gigantic fucking never ever seen before type battles? I mean,
probably not all, but what we're gonna, I did hear that next week's episode is an hour and a half. And then I've heard the rumor, because they obviously haven't started filming yet, that next season's episodes, every episode is going to be an hour and a half.
Whoa. So every episode's like a movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Shit. Well, at this point, why didn't you just make it 2 10-episode seasons? Shit.
Well, I think it was pacing. I think it's pacing for a lot of it, and which we mentioned this episode. I thought this season was going to go slower to set up the final run. No, it is so fast.
It's been hitting the ground running.
I think the only episode that was slow was episode 1, and it was still good because it established. It got us. It's like that. Like, all right, Episode 1, we're here. And then episode 2 is like, floodgates open. Let's go do our stuff.
So Brando, since we've been jonesing on Thrones, do you want to predict, like, for real, what we get as the start of our last season of Thrones next year? Do you have any clue where they begin? Because in my head, we're talking about it, and if they catch a white, if they bring it to Cersei, if Cersei sees this and goes, oh shit, that is for real, does that mean the final season, season 8, would be literally nothing but, like, all of Westeros fighting against the dead?
It's Game of Thrones, so there's going to be infighting. There's going to be people trying to kill each other. Cersei trying to kill Daenerys, take this opportunity to kill her enemy, and then or Sansa. What does Sansa want? She wants power. If Jon's not a Targaryen, she's going to have power of Winterfell.
Yeah.
My wife thinks, Caitlin, she thinks that she's pregnant with Ramsay's kid.
Well, they've teased that in dialogue before, saying that, having certain, not officially saying what happened to her, but definitely alluding to it. By the way, I love how, I don't know if you saw, but Seth Meyers the past 2 seasons has brought Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live to do a special where they watch an episode of Thrones together, because she live tweets every episode, and they call it Game of Jones. And she said the funniest thing, because she's like, nobody even realizes this whole story started because the Lannister twins were fucking. That's really where this kicks off. Because if they didn't push Bran out that window, where we are now isn't where we'd be, right? But then the other thing to think of is, like, now Bran is just like this. He's like the viewer of Game of Thrones. He's like watching Game of Thrones in real time, stoned out of his mind, just like lit over by a tree, like, I've seen it all.
He's such a different character. It's almost, he's not Bran anymore. He is
correct.
He's mentally somebody else, and I just love how he's just like, I can't even pretend to feel like I'm like, yeah, I've seen what you've done. I've seen what's happened to you.
Yeah,
I'm sad about it.
But I watched the whole thing.
Well, it's like the thing he said to Sansa. It's like, your wedding dress is beautiful that day, or your dress is beautiful that day. I'm sorry what happened to you in our own home. And she's just like, okay, bye.
I'm getting the fuck out. Peace out.
I think it was the episode prior to that, but the little sparring thing with Arya and Brienne.
The lightsaber duel?
That was badass.
Yeah, because Arya's come so far.
Have you noticed that Arya is pretty much looking, like dressing, and has her hair done up just like Ned Stark?
Yeah, she's becoming a little badass like Ned.
And have you noticed that Sansa has her hair done kind of like Cersei did?
Mm-hmm. I think that the parallel is there. That'd be a really crazy twist if Sansa became the Cersei of the next generation of thrones. Like, the White Walkers happen, a bunch of people get taken out, the throne has been not really abandoned, but there's a power struggle. All of a sudden now Sansa has power, but she's never known power like that before, and in her moment of power, I guess you'd call it, she decides that it's time to be a badass, and she starts doing terrible shit to people, and then that's the whole... Because that's the thing, George R.R. Martin said this show's ending was, what did you word it as, bittersweet?
Bittersweet.
So wouldn't that be bittersweet, that really Sansa gets like the ultimate revenge of taking the Iron Throne, but she then also becomes Cersei by proxy?
And again, it's like, that's what's like a theory, is that she's going to end up powering her way into like the throne. And so we could get a scene where, we've been following Daenerys all these seasons, and then she gets gutted and killed. And you're like, what? This show and this story is not going to end the way that we say. And that's why I also think that learning that Jon is a Targaryen isn't necessarily going to be an all good thing. It's going to have its repercussions.
Well, it's got to have repercussions because everything's cause to effect, but you're opening up the whole kingdom to wait. Daenerys isn't the only Targaryen we have to worry about. And of all the people to be a Targaryen, it's fucking Jon Snow, who the Lannisters have been unable to get rid of, who the fucking people at the Wall were unable to get rid of, who the people in the North were unable to get rid of. He's like the goddamn cockroach of Game of Thrones. He just doesn't fucking die. And that's great, because it's great storytelling that this bastard who had been disrespected, and you look at him in season 1, he's this young kid who's unsure of himself, and he's still learning his ways. He's still being treated as a bastard, and it's funny because there's all this disrespect. And then to think some of those people are going to learn he's a Targaryen. Like, how's Theon going to feel finding out that Jon Snow is actually a fucking Targaryen?
That was a reunion that I forgot about too. That Jon and Theon met for the first time since season 1. Jon not necessarily happy to see him because he knows what Theon did to, basically to Robb. Of course, the belief was that Theon led to believe that he had killed Rickon and Bran, but he really didn't. But,
correct.
Yeah,
yeah.
Theon betrayed Robb, and that not necessarily damned Robb because Robb kind of did himself in, but it didn't help matters.
Yeah. Robb led with his dick. Because he's in love. He didn't care about the rules. Game of follow the fucking rules, Robb Stark. But Brando, let's go ahead and move away from Thrones. We spent a lot of time on it. I don't mind unless there's anything you want to add. I'm excited about tonight's episode. But let's get into a little bit of comic book news. Not really any reading news. We need to catch up on some Walking Dead at some point, but we'll save it. There have been really great issues of The Walking Dead. We can kind of build them up and then tell a little bit of a bigger story together there. I want to say, I don't know if you saw this. I know I sent you the link. There are certain cinemas that have a special going on through the end of the month or through to end of next month, where for $5 you can go to the movie theater and see one of 11 different Marvel movies. They've actually got a scheduled date, so you technically could spend like $20 and go watch all the team-up movies. So it would be like Guardians, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Guardians 2, or I'm not sure. But they have the schedule. I'm trying to pull it up now so I can... So the lineup is, here are all the movies that are included that you can see for $5 in the movie theater. So if you didn't end up going and seeing these in theaters, you want to, it is cool to get a theater experience. These are the movies you can choose from. It's Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Thor, Marvel's Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America the First Avenger, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War. They have them blocked in different sections, so they've got one called Cap's Best Of, which are all the Captain America movies, and they've got one called Fan Favorites, which are Iron Man, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Civil War. They've got a Cosmic Day with Doctor Strange, Guardians, and Avengers, and Guardians 2, and Thor. But it looks like, I mean, this is kind of cool. Now my question is, and they don't say anything here, do you know, since they're putting all these movies back into theaters at a cheap price, is that going to raise their lifetime box office?
I guess technically it would. I mean,
because that opens up a whole new bag of worms.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I guess it definitely could. I mean, T2 just got re-released into 3D.
What?
Yeah. Terminator 2 just got re-released either this week or last week or one of these weeks into 3D. So does that count towards that? Because I don't know if that's ever been re-released at all. And I just remembered something I read a while back.
Tell me.
Starting in 2019, James Cameron gets the rights back to Terminator.
Really?
And he's already working on something.
Of course he is. But are you going to have Arnold in it, or are they going to do a full, universal reboot?
Now, this is what I've read. I love how we just tangented it into Terminator, by the way. I love it.
That's fine.
I love Terminator.
All right, so the rumor is that Arnold will be in it, but as a human character. He won't be playing the Terminator. And that I don't know if it's actually going to be a part of the old franchise. The way I understood it was kind of like, because Cameron's not directing it, he's going to be producing it. Because he's too busy working on like Avatars 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I love that you skipped 3.
Yeah, no, 3's later. That's like a prequel, you know. So, where was I? Okay. A complete reimagining of what would Terminator be like if I made it today with the same concept. So we have the modern day. It's not too dissimilar from a reboot, but we don't have a hard evidence yet that it is 100% not associated with a timeline. Now, you want to start talking confusing timeline. Terminator's confusing because you have the original movie in T2, and it get in there. But then you have T3, which T3 goes off the ending of T2, changes Judgment Day to 2003, 2004 or 5, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sets up the Salvation storyline. And then you have Genesis, which then goes back and messes the timeline up even worse. So then you have the Genesis timeline goes back to the original movie, cancels that out, cancels out 2, cancels out 3, and then creates a new timeline where Judgment Day is in 2017.
Whoa.
Yeah, it is. You almost need to see it on paper to like follow it all. But I think it's kind of neat how they do that, because then it's like you can kind of say, well, the last good one was 2, so that's where it ends for me. So if you don't ever want to watch the other ones again, you don't have to. I do kind of feel like 3 has its moments, and that's about it. Salvation was better than when it had any right being. There was some really good stuff in that I liked.
I think that's the last one I saw.
Salvation was the one with Christian Bale and dude from Avatar, right?
Chris Pine?
No. That's
not Chris Pine.
That's Star Trek.
Star Trek. My bad.
Yeah, I can't remember what that guy's name is. I know I'm gonna see it like as soon as I type it in. Sam Worthington.
Okay.
He played the human Terminator hybrid in that movie. But I liked the movie because that was the first movie that tried to separate itself and say, Schwarzenegger's not in this. We'll put a nod to him. We're gonna try and make something new out of this and really take the series forward. And it didn't really succeed the way they wanted it to. It was good. I thought it was way better than what it had. That's the movie that got Kate into wanting to watch the other ones. And then we watched them all out of order. we watched that one.
Fucking up the timeline.
We watched that one, then T2, then T3, then T1.
Whoa.
Yeah, we went all over the place. But then, yeah, Genesis ironically also had Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fun watch. Let me put it that way. I thought that they tried to do some cool, unique things with it, and then I didn't think it was ever really terrible at any point. But I also kind of felt like it was just like, well, it didn't really click with me. And then I didn't click with a lot of people because that's one reason why they didn't make a sequel to it. Because they were going to try and make a sequel to that before they ended up getting the rights back to Cameron. But then Cameron now has us back, and so now we're going to see exactly what he has in store for it to try and revive it again, I guess. It's a very difficult thing to see where it's a franchise that is so well known and so successful, and yet since 2 has been battling over and constantly over and over again trying to like make something as good as that. And it's almost kind of like, T2 is the Dark Knight. In T2 you managed to somehow make the perfect movie for this franchise, And anything you make after it, even if it's good, even if it's great, it's going to pale in comparison, or it's going to bail.
Bar's too high. The bar has been set way too high.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's impossible. So, you know, I feel like each one they've always tried, and it doesn't happen. But I'm excited, as I said. I think we were recording it, and I can't remember if that was off air or not. I just watched the first movie over again last night, and we actually did make fun of it. Some of the cheesiness that's in that movie. Some of the effects don't hold up now. The animatronic Arnie sunglasses on, you know. I like how I did that, and that's like a visual gag that no one's going to be able to see.
We're preparing for something big in our future.
Boom. Yeah, dude. For these Marvel, I mean, it's cool that they're doing that, because I remember like leading up to one of the Marvel movies, they did like a big marathon where you sat in a theater for 20 hours and watched all these movies, and then had to go to the bathroom and all this. That's not something that I would want to do. Like, there is a specific group of movies I want to see in the theater. T2 is one of them. T2, Batman '89.
Oh yes,
Love to see that in the
absolutely.
theater. You know, I saw Dark Knight in the theater once.
OG Ghostbusters.
Sure. Yeah. All right. You know, I would see that. At Back to the Future maybe would be cool. I mean, these are movies I've seen a million times, but then I would love to see the original unaltered Star Wars trilogy in the theater as well. You know, if that was ever possible. If I could get my despecialized editions projected up, I think that'd be badass. But yeah, there's certain movies I would like to see. I'm not sure if the Marvel movies would be in there. I've seen. I haven't seen all of them. I saw Iron Man 2, and then I was like, I'm done.
Oh, in theaters, you haven't seen them all.
Yeah. Well, I actually still haven't seen Doctor Strange yet. It just hasn't come around for me to watch it. I haven't seen it anywhere, and it's like I'm not buying it, not yet. And
It's on Netflix.
I don't have Netflix.
I know, you told me. I also have I have the high def version that I can send you if you want it.
Cool. But is Defenders out?
Oh no. Defenders came out on Friday.
Have you been watching it?
Not yet, because I haven't caught up on Luke Cage and or Iron Fist.
Well, now, and I know that reviews are reviews, and you know it's like, who do you trust, right? Me? I'm giving away free money.
You're giving away free money.
I just told that's like a Batman '89 joke. I said, who do you trust? Me?
Giving away free.
So I'm gonna look up a Metacritic to see if they have the Defenders on here, because I know IGN has been rating the episodes. And
Well, while you're looking that up, Brando, I just want to quickly drop in here that Wonder Woman is going to break 800 million. We were talking about box office, and it's just interesting to note that Wonder Woman's going to break 800 million. Spider-Man: Homecoming, which only came out like a month after Wonder Woman, is already on pace worldwide to hit 780 million. So I think that Spider-Man: Homecoming could pace to that 1 billion if they stretch it a little bit longer and keep it at theaters maybe until the first week of September or something. But Wonder Woman crossing 800 mil is huge for DC. It's just putting all their faith back into their worlds. But what do we know about the Defenders? How is it being rated?
it has an average meta score from 29 critics of 63.
Ooh, that's pretty mid.
There are 15 positive reviews, 13 mixed, and one absolutely negative one. It has a 7.5 user score rating at this point, based off 136. Now, we have sat here and we've looked at movies that get reviewed so terribly, and that we disagree with it, or reviewed so well and then we disagree with it. As always, please go out and watch this for yourself, to gauge for yourself. Just like with anything, it's like, there are some people out there who think BVS is one of the best superhero movies ever made. And then there are those that definitely don't think that. And then there's those that think I kind of think the BVS is a pretty similar score to this. If this, where this is at, it's kind of mixed. Could have been better. But then again, I'm with you. I'm not caught up enough to watch this, but maybe one day. I mean, we could be that cool, on topic, always on time podcast that talks about things.
Nah, it's all right though, Brando. With the Defenders, I know that there's probably a lot of people too that are giving it negative scores just because they hated Iron Fist. And the director of Iron Fist, I think, has got a lot of backlash. He's the guy that's going to be doing the Inhumans show that has also garnered a lot of critic backlash. So is it the guy who's a part of this thing or helped create this thing, or is it actually something? Because I've heard other reviews for Defenders, people saying this is the best thing Marvel's done yet. It's the best team up that they've seen, that they outdid themselves for how they did the Avengers, that this is just one step higher. So I was genuinely shocked when you said that number was as low as it is. I almost feel like we need to read the scathing review just to hear the most negative thing you could hear about it,
Let me see if I can go back to it, because I actually left the page as I'm like far away from the microphone. Let's see here. All critics reviews. It seems like the one negative review gave it a 38. So still above BVS.
Oh.
Did you freeze? You just pulled one.
I froze for a second, but I'm back.
Okay, yeah. All right. Not sure if I really want to read this whole thing. It's a long-ass review.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to.
It's pretty long. Here, though. I'll read just what's on... Is that a user review? Somebody rated it a 0.
Wow.
Yeah, that's got to be a user review. I'm like, there's no way. All right. Here's a brief paragraph. The story's larger stakes aren't always clear, and momentum falters, especially in the episodes that jarringly shift focus between the four characters. The Defender's adversary complicates narrative coherence in the early going with vague motivations and unclear means.
So it doesn't have a path. The
Yeah.
path of this series could be deemed unclear. I'm guessing that might be somebody that... one thing you got to think about with this Defenders show, also when we're talking reviews, is there are going to be people that jump into this that have not seen Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or Daredevil for that matter. They might be jumping on as, oh shit, there's this show called Defenders. It's like the Avengers, but they're Defenders, and it's Netflix. And have no idea what they're getting into. So of course they're going to feel like they're missing something, like average, non-super committed fans would. But to us, I think if we got into it, what's that?
That is a Minecraft Xbox One S announced today, and it's all pixelated and looks like something right out of Minecraft. Gamescom is today, so I went to go to IGN to look up some more reviews, like look at actual episode, because they reviewed per episode, and I'm like, new Xbox, Xbox One X Project Scorpio Edition revealed. So this is gonna be like a special edition version of the One X. Man, this thing almost it's so on the controller it just has a little green text Project Scorpio on it, and then on the actual system. But I don't know if I can get that system to look. If you can see that, it almost has a PS2 look to it.
It kind of does, from what I can see, yeah. The thinner bottom with the thicker top.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, not exactly, of course, but... So now I have to scroll through all this video game news just to get to what I want to... And I probably won't even... Jurassic World Evolution? What is this? Oh, it's a park building simulator coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC this summer.
Oh.
Wait, this summer or next summer? Summer 18. Yeah, okay.
Brando, what do you think about
I think this was actually the last handheld Pokemon games I ever played. Gold and Silver getting physical copy re-releases for 3DS.
Okay, so they're not real physical copies.
What?
They are the boxes. They are some art. They are some pulled-out posters, and then a digital code to download them onto the store.
This is the face of a guy who's bummed. I know you guys can't see my fucking face, but this is my face. That's
sorry.
bummer.
You sent me that, and I knew you're excited. And I'm just like, I'm gonna have to let him down on air. That sucks.
Let me down easy, brother. Thank you. Like, man, that's the whole.
I got hyped too, so I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I read in it. You know, it's almost like the Sonic Mania collector's edition. You know, that game came out and is actually scoring very well. It's high 8s, 9s across the board almost. Just like it's good old school Sonic, and there is no physical copy of that available. There's a collector's edition that comes with a statue, and then a download code.
I'd be so pissed if I spent money for a collector's edition and it didn't have a disc attached. Is this still like $80 for the collector's edition?
Dude, I don't even know the price. I didn't even look at it. Once I saw it didn't have a game, I just went scroll, keep going. No.
Anyways.
There was a collector's edition for Halo. I don't know which one it was. If it was Master Chief Collection or Halo 5. It was one of those.
Okay.
And you got a digital copy of the game.
Nope. I would be so.
Meanwhile, you could go buy
dude.
a physical copy of the game in the store. So people bitched and got their pitchforks, you know, or tiki torches, whatever you want to do, if that's your fucking thing.
It's not my fucking thing, Brando. We could literally start a whole new podcast on how that's not my fucking thing.
You know what? Fuck you. You fuck that shit. I don't agree at all, but at least they weren't getting bitten by mosquitoes, and that's probably what it was. Skeeter's been really bad this year,
especially in the South.
Yeah. Fuck that shit. That's all I'm gonna say. If anybody's like, "Oh, Brando's joking about it," fuck that shit. Seriously, fuck that shit. And that's it. That's all we're gonna say about it. We're not gonna dive into this shit. Yeah, if you want to hear, pray tell, we may have a show on this network that's gonna discuss something about that, maybe, and maybe some kind of poor rendition of that.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, stay tuned to the network for that episode to come out, because I hope that's by what he's tentatively titling that's what it's going to be about, this whole discussion on this. Anyway, the Xbox players were pissed off about not getting a physical copy with their collector's edition. So Microsoft announced that those who bought the game or bought the collector's edition could send in their voucher, their download code, and they would get a physical copy for free.
Hey, that's actually not a bad payoff.
I mean, they said, you know, and I'm pretty sure it was a certain time frame that you had to do it, but they said anybody who wants a physical copy can get one. Digital copies are becoming the wave of the future. If you go to Walmart, you're going to see two big shelves of just digital copy cards for games, and it's going to become that for people who don't want to put their cards onto the store. For if you're identity thieves or whatever, people don't want that. You're going to have ways to get those games downloaded on your console. I don't like it, obviously. Nate can see I got my whole game case behind me, or just one of my shelves, and I'm very much into getting physical copies, which is why I bought the physical copy of Night Trap for PS4. I wanted to play the game. I don't have a Sega CD. I'm not going to get that version. I could easily download it and torrent it and get a copy of the old version, but I want to play it. It's available digitally on the PS4 store. The only time I ever play digital games is if I get them for free on my subscription. And that's it. Like, I'm playing through the Game of Thrones game now. Have you ever played that, Nate? You've been listening to me talk about it on the Game Addicts?
Yes.
Play that fucking game, dude.
As soon as I beat the Guardians Telltale that'll be the next thing I get.
I got it for free on PS Plus. I will be buying a copy of that game right away as soon as I can.
Sweet.
That is on my list to get now because this game is that good. It tries to accurately simulate an episode of Game of Thrones. The game starts right at the Red Wedding, and you're outside.
Whoa.
And then right now, I am on episode 4 or 5. There are 6 episodes altogether. And Tommen is now king. So,
damn.
Yeah, you play as members of the family Forrester, of House Forrester. And there's this whole storyline going on in the background of the main story. That the main story, obviously, in the show doesn't really shed a light on because this is a smaller sect of story, but you run across different characters. Like Tyrion is in the game. Cersei is in the game. Marjorie's in the game. A certain bastard of the North, or bastards of the North, are in the game. Both of them.
With real voice actors, or are they simulated different?
They are the real actors.
Wow.
And I may or may not be trying to get some sellswords or some fighters, but in order to get them, I had to help her free some slaves.
Oh.
And it is the actors from the show, and it's awesome to hear that. You know, because it just lends to that like authenticity that you are playing a small part even of this whole universe.
Damn. That's awesome, Brando. This is I had heard you talking about it a little bit on Game Addicts. It's one of those things that the Telltale games, when I played the first Walking Dead game, I loved it. I've been playing through the Guardians Telltale. It's great. With the Guardians Telltale, the only thing I'm kind of complacent and not really happy with is the voice acting, because they have Rocket that they tried to get somebody that sounds like Bradley Cooper, so it's close. And Groot is obviously Groot, that doesn't matter. And then the guy that got to play Star-Lord kind of sounds like Chris Pratt, but Drax and Gamora don't sound anything like Drax or Gamora.
I see.
And then the guy that plays Yondu sounds just like fucking Michael Rooker. Like, just Blue Merle. You know?
Yeah.
I think Nick said that forever ago, fucking Blue Merle.
Blue Merle.
So, I do want to play the Game of Thrones Telltale. I'm looking forward to it. I also want to play the Batman Telltale.
Yes, so do I. I have season 2 of The Walking Dead, and I haven't got to it yet. I played season 1, absolutely loved it. I fell in love with that game. And then I played the DLC that kind of linked into season 2, the 400 Days one. And then I got both season 1 and season 2 on PS4 forever ago. I started playing season 1, and I got maybe into the first episode, and then just started playing something else. And because I wanted to carry over my save,
Your story,
from that. And so that otherwise, because I played through it on like PS3 or something, and when I ended up getting a physical copy, I was like, I'm gonna buy them, and it's like PS4 copies coming 2 months. I'll wait. And so with Game of Thrones, it's like I've been waiting on it. I heard it was good, but I also purposely didn't read too much into it. It was almost the same thing with the show, where I knew of it, I heard about it, I read about it, got spoiled on the first article I read about it, because the show wasn't even out yet, and they were talking about, like, warnings, possible spoilers ahead. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? You know, like, what possibly could they be spoiled? Like, everything. Like, they spoiled Ned. They spoiled the Red Wedding. Now, Ned for sure. The Red Wedding, I didn't know what they were talking about. They just said bunch of characters. And then the last thing they spoiled was Jon, because that book had just come out. And they were like, how's the show's going to, how's it going to differ? How's it going to go? How's it going to take, like fans of the books love some of these characters and they just kill them. So people are just going to take that. I forgot about Jon. I knew about Ned when we started. Knew about the Red Wedding. I knew when it was, because when it happened in the show, I was like, "Oh, that thing! Yeah, I remember that a bunch of characters get slaughtered. Oh yeah." And then when it happened in the show, I was like, "Oh, I know it's here. This is where it is." And then with John leading up to that moment, I was like, I had forgotten about it until it started leading up into that scene. I'm like, oh. Everything started coming back to me, and I'm like, and then it was like the minutes leading up to him getting stabbed. It just all
hit you.
I'm like, oh no, we're here, because I got so invested into the character, I forgot entirely. And
Well, that's a good thing.
Oh, dude, it is, and of course it paid off. We just circled back to Thrones.
Wow, this is a big Thrones jerk. Maybe that's not right. Thrones talk. Or...
Well, I said circle, and then you said Thrones jerk. So I think you're trying to imply some sort of circle.
Well, we're circle jerking on Thrones, not to each other, but just like Thrones.
It takes more than two to have a circle.
I guess we're just a line.
We are.
Line of Thrones.
Line of king chair.
It looks like it's going to rain outside, Brando. Holy fuck, if we were doing a Journey into Comics weathercast.
Well, I mean, there for a while, Game Addicts, every episode I said, man, it's hot up there today. But, dude, it is burning up back here. I had the air on before we started. It is now like I did nothing back here. I don't know if you can see.
I can actually see the sweat on your brow. I was just about to say.
How long have we been going?
It's got to be hour and 36.
Hour and 55.
Whoa! That's my guess. Well, Brando, is there anything else you want to add to this week of Journey into Game of Thrones, King Chair?
I don't know, because there wasn't a whole lot of news that I saw as far as I went looking to see if there was much. I mean, there really isn't a whole lot of, Defenders came out. We could be on top of that. We touched on it just to see how people are doing with that or how they feel about it. But, I really don't have much other than I cannot wait for tonight's Game of Thrones. And, of course, cannot wait for SummerSlam tomorrow at this point and be a few days behind on that. So that way we can record JIW right after JIC this coming Friday. That way we can bring that show back and nerd out on some wrestling, because there's been some good wrestling going on. NXT was a stellar show.
Absolutely. That was maybe one of the best NXT takeover events they've ever had. Every match was great, and I say that not as a stretch. They did not put on a single boring match the entire night. They kept me guessing as far as who was going to win, how the outcomes were going to be. They had some classic run-ins and twists you wouldn't expect that set up new things. I think that some of the things they did pretty much let you know that there are at least 3 people who are on NXT that will not be on NXT by the end of the week. And I don't know if we want to spoil that here, but a certain couple champions, I think, are going to debut on the main roster sooner than later.
Well, I know that one of those former champions is riding really freaking high right now in the company, and he is very well regarded. And it is being talked about that wherever he ends up, on whatever brand he ends up, he will be a top 5 contender in major storylines wherever he is. And I am just telling you right now, I hope he's on SmackDown, because that is a big problem with me right now. I feel like there's people who are big top-up guys that are on Raw that should be over there. I don't think Miz ever should have left. I think Balor should have went to SmackDown. I think there needs to be a little bit more, evenness in the roster. For their having an extra hour on Raw, they're not utilizing it, and these characters are just not doing much. I mean, you have enough major drawing power on the Raw already that moving Balor, moving Miz to SmackDown is only going to help SmackDown. It's not going to hurt Raw.
Well, to preview Journey into Wrestling, this is something that we're gonna be definitely talking about when we get to Friday here. But I actually have a solution that I'm going to talk about to the woes that you feel WWE is suffering from.
a way I think that they need to adjust and maybe expand the future of their company. And we'll get into that on Friday as a whole. Obviously, anybody who's going to be a JIC patron will be able to hear that as soon as we're done recording this and next week's JIC. But I think that if that specific person shows up on SmackDown, SmackDown would automatically be a little bit more glorious, is all I'm saying. So,
Wink.
at this point, everyone should already fucking know what happened on NXT because it's already the weekday. But, Brandon, did you have anything else we should add before we depart on this lovely day?
No, sir. I think I am good, and I cannot wait to link back up with you later on this week to, in the first show, geek out about tonight's Thrones, and then the second show, geek out about SummerSlam.
Both tonight. We're going to have to save it till Sunday. Or till Friday. That was hard. But as always, folks, you can check us out on all our different social medias. You can get us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. You can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Give us $1, you get early access. Give us $3, you get early access and additional shows that are going to be exclusive to the Patreon right now. That's our $3 bill, y'all, section, as it were, to try to crack Brando shit up a little bit there. On Facebook, Instagram, and all that, look for Journey into Comics. JIC Network on Twitter now. We are not JIC Podcast, it's JIC Network. Always listen to all of our different shows on the network. You've got the Poor Rapport and the Voice of Survival podcast, debuting Butt Stuff. And you've also got the Poor Rapport, Journey into Comics, Journey into Wrestling, and Foodies Watching Movies. I don't think I missed anyone. And if you're on our... Oh, yeah, the Voice of Survival, that's my show. But if you're on our Patreon, this is my favorite part. You also get Game Addicts, which is the extended brand of Journey into Comics. It's our sister site network. As I've always said, Game Addicts is maybe one of my favorite gaming podcasts, and it's weird because you do it. So it's like I have the inside track. I've actually been on a show I love, which is that's a weird fucking thing to explain. But folks, what we're saying is the Journey into Comics Network is continuously expanding. We've got all this content, and we can't wait for you guys to check it out. As always, this was episode 153 of Journey into Comics. I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
And we'll see you guys later. Keep filling your brain with shit.
What's up, everyone? Nate!
And Brando here to let everyone know.
We started a network.
Yeah, dude.
And, Journey into Comics has been a breeding ground for new podcasts.
Yeah, like after 150 episodes of Journey into Comics, we just felt like now was the time to expand.
And in expanding, you're going to find a wide array of shows on our network, including...
Journey into Comics podcast.
Foodies Watching Movies.
Journey into Wrestling.
The Voice of Survival podcast.
And Podcastrophe.
With more to be announced very, very soon.
Yeah, dude, and we just cannot wait, and we are so glad that this podcast network has launched, and we welcome you all
to the Journey into Comics network.